Yo, 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 guys, what's up? We're back with another episode of Welcome to the Future. On this episode is very, very special. We have Fohse's president and CEO, well, CEO and president, Brett Stevens and Ben Arnett here with us. And we also have Mr. Kevin Kuethe, the VP of Cultivation of Lume Cannabis. He's sitting in with us for today's episode. We're going to chat. We're going to get into his journey, why he chose cannabis from Michigan to Vegas, all of that good stuff. And yeah, Kevin, welcome.
Thank you, guys.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, good to have you, brother. Absolutely.
Is this your first podcast? What's your first official one?
You know, we've done a ton of different media stuff, you know, over the past decade or so from facility to facility. We've done a few podcasts, but mostly we're doing articles. Had a lot of magazine articles and a lot of local news presence, especially in and around where our facilities are. In Michigan, we've got, you know, over 30 retails there now operational, and then several different cultivation sites. And we play a pretty big role in the community that we're in, donating and, you know, not only money, but time, volunteering. So we like to, you know, make a positive impact everywhere. And that's really gotten us kind of intertwined in the cities we're in.
Got it. So what's been one of the driving factors in the cities that you've selected to really start business in?
Well, the cultivation facility, which is what I'm responsible for, is right in the center of Michigan. We've got a 250,000 square foot indoor facility there. It's in a town of about 1,400 people. So it's a small population. I've got 300 employees there just at the indoor facility. And so we have people, as you can imagine, traveling from all over to work there. It's a great work environment. I mean, we just won 2022 Best Cannabis Companies to Work For, both for cultivation and for the retail side. And then MG Magazine just gave us Best Cannabis Company to Work For as well for 2022. So we're celebrating that stuff, and people have, you know, word's kind of spread. People travel to work for us and with us. And the growing opportunities they've seen, I think, have been pretty outrageous. And, you know, with growth comes opportunity for a lot of people. So it's been good, man. But selecting the areas, I mean, we selected that area in the center of Michigan because we knew we were going to have a big footprint there all over the state. We want to have good distribution. So center of the state's the best spot, right? So we have great distribution there. We also had, one of our founders had a big chunk of land there and owned some buildings. So that's where we actually put up the first phase of the indoor facility because he had, you know, good ties and property there.
Gotcha. Okay. And then for those that may not know, what specific area of Michigan are you referring to? You say right in the center, but would you mind naming this specific area?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little town called Evart, Michigan, E-V-A-R-T. It's just north of Grand Rapids, about an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. So how did you meet these two guys here? How did this all come together? How did the meeting of the worlds happen?
Well, I was previously, before Lume, I was chief operating officer for a publicly traded cannabis company called GB Sciences. It's GBLX and the OTC ticker, a pink sheet stock, penny stock. And I had built a facility here in Vegas unlike any other I had done before. I had a larger budget, and it was a biopharmaceutical company where they wanted to produce medications for ailments from specific combinations of minor cannabinoids and terpenes. And you know, I loved the opportunity, and so when we built the facility, I chose to go with, you know, making it much more of a clean room style because of our company's mission. So we built it out of pharmaceutical grade clean rooms, a company called Portafab. You know, it's basically fiber reinforced plastic. It's non-porous. It's easy to clean. And we used really efficient controls, natural gas for cooling. You know, we're basically running off Toyota 4-cylinder engines outside that would pump glycol to our air handling units, and then we would dehumidify and cool with those. Extremely efficient. And I was running all HPS because my entire life I had been running HPS lights. But here was this magnificent facility running all HPS, which to me, I already knew that the future of lighting was going to be developing. And that was going to be one of the first things that changed in cannabis because of how ridiculous the old school lighting really is. The technology is 50 years old and it produces insane amount of heats. And we're all trying to be efficient here and save the planet. They make no sense. You build this massive mechanical infrastructure to try to handle the cooling behind these heaters that you're putting in your room. But, you know, so I knew that was going to change. So at GB, I had the opportunity to run real tests. And to me, that's one of the most important things about running a commercial cultivation and making decisions is you got to make data-driven decisions. And you have to be able to collect data correctly, which I've learned the hard way before. And collecting it collecting it the right way is having spaces that are the exact same, that you know not only mechanically, but everything. You're running a real control study. And the data you're collecting, you not only collect it, but how to aggregate it, and more importantly, how to read that data, and then to make good decisions based off of that. So at GB, I knew I had an opportunity to do really good tests there because of the uniformity of the rooms, the mechanical infrastructure, everything was mint, brand new, and it was really state of the art, for the time. We mixed all of our own nutrients from scratch, so I could control levels, and we're doing massive testing with runoff and everything. So I had really good controls, and I started to test LED lights. I went through at that point in time, over 10, all the way through flower. Because I was a GB for years. We went all the way through flower, and what I noticed with every light is that, with our grow techniques and the mechanical capabilities of the room, we had the ability to start getting really good looking buds and some large, dense buds, but they were all primarily at the top of the canopy. And the yield just wasn't touching what I was really nailing with the HPS. And I was able to get over 4 pounds of light of dried, trimmed, cured, beautiful flower. And I needed something that I could swap out and at least get what I was getting with HPS. If I couldn't at least do that, then I wasn't going to switch. No matter how good the technology was, I wasn't willing to give up the yield. Because, yields drive a success of a company. Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. So I, started running through all these lights, and I had an employee at the time who said, "Hey, I got a couple friends that have just started an LED company, and it's great technology." And honestly, I wanted to just say, "No, thanks, man." But I'd already been testing so many lights. I said, okay. He kept bugging me about it, and I said, "Sure, all right, fine." Set up a meeting. So they came in, and it was Ben and Brett, and we talked about it. Had a great meeting. I told them I'd been running through LED lights and testing and running them all through flower. I had a bunch up in the facility at the time they came, and I was like, I didn't have much hope. I told him, I was like, just so you guys know, if it doesn't work, I'm not going to keep running it. I'm going to take it down and give it back. If you guys don't pick it up, I'm going to put it outside. Right. Throw it in the trash.
No, you said you were going to throw it in the trash. You definitely said LED graveyard. There's a nickname for your trash can.
I'd been through so many. So,
and of course, you have to sacrifice a lot of flower during that time too, right? When you're testing lights, that's the other thing. Absolutely. Is you're going through a lot of product.
You're going through product, it's not that it's unsellable, but it's just not ideally where you're trying to get, and dollars, make sense in business. You have to be able to produce commercially at a good rate and have a low cost to produce.
And not regress. Exactly. You don't want to, the one thing with testing and anything, I think, is you don't want to take the risk of regressing when you test. You want to test, get the information, and keep moving forward without much error or loss in between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we put up a couple of the Fohse lights. I think I put up one first. I ran a run through, and I was like, wow, it actually, maybe it's the cross lighting. Maybe it's something I don't know about. So I got another one, put it up, and we were hitting about the same, and on some circumstances better yield. And to me, that was enough. Right. I had done it, and to me, I also knew that I was testing one of the first lights, and so I knew it was going to give me a leg up in the competition, and so I started to kind of get excited, and it was like a secret I didn't really want to tell anybody about.
You do want to keep it to yourself a little bit. You don't want to share it too much.
Exactly. But, fast forward years later, we've got 250,000 square feet up, and it's all Fohse lights. We use the A through I in flower, and we just absolutely crush it now. We were celebrating at the facilities recently. Growers get paid on a bonus cycle, and the bonus goes all the way up to over 4 pounds a light, because we regularly hit that. But they've been hitting 5.5 recently. And
can you qualify that 5.5?
For layman's terms, it's the easiest for people. There's a million different metrics: grams per foot, grams per watt. How many lights do you have in the room? And I use 5-foot tables.
Is that flower? Is that that with?
That's finished, trimmed, cured flower. We call it FPK, which is flower, popcorn, keef. It's everything that I can sell that's trimmed. No, absolutely not. No, this is what I'm, because we have our own retails. We're vertically integrated, so this is what this is our bread and butter.
So this is ready to go.
Yeah. But, you know, we've been able to, well, we've learned a lot. Your lights actually made us learn a lot, because it starts to trigger the thought process of, okay, well, we know that plants thrive on light energy and they want to grow more, but if you increase light, and because we're all stuck in this HPS world of, you know, this many lumens, so, or this is the PPFD, it just comes standard, and you know, you end up starting to think about, in your head, you start to think about, well, if we increase the light intensity, the plant's going to want to do more, you know, which means we need to give it more nutrient. Otherwise, it's going to lack in nutrient levels, and it's probably going to drink more water, which is what we started to see. You know, when our very first room we put up of just the A3Is, we started watering almost twice as much, and the nutrients, you know, almost doubling. But so does the growth, and it. You know, you learn a lot. Like I said, you go through that process in your head and starting to tweak it and dial it and test around, okay, how much nutrient can it actually thrive on, and what's happening with the plant. It's pulling up water and transpiring moisture, right? Through the stomas, it's releasing little pockets of evapotranspiration, right? These little humidity pockets into the room. And if you have the ability to remove all of that and continue its metabolism, pump its metabolism, along with the combination of light energy, giving it everything it needs on a nutrient level, the plant could do outrageous things, you know, outrageous things. A lot of people are stuck in the 2 pound per light mental space where, like, you know, yes, you can make money off that much. And sure, that's been standard for a long time, but that's not the limit of the plant by any means, you know.
So transitioning to now where you are today in this current phase with Lume, what keeps you going and finding ways to reinvent the brand? Obviously with cannabis, it can get old because it's cannabis, right? But how do you find ways to keep being innovative and then growing the brand forward? Well,
you know, growing the brand, I kind of leave that up to the marketing department. We've got an outrageous marketing team. You know, we've got 1,200 employees now, so we have a serious department for everything we need. But for me, what changes and continues, you know, to keep me interested in what drives success is optimizing, and always trying to optimize and never stop at a certain point saying, oh, that's okay, that's good enough, you know, that'll do it. There's always ways, you know, like I say, with all my growers, if they want to try something, we'll test it and we'll collect the data, and we don't, you know, if it doesn't work, we don't have to test it again. But we will test everything if we all think it's a good idea. And we brainstorm and go through stuff all the time. We're talking to, you know, people from universities and PhDs, and going out of our way to learn as much as we possibly can about the science behind the plant, and doing what we're doing on a commercial scale, because what a lot of people don't realize is commercial cannabis hasn't been around legally for a long time. There's not textbooks on it. And guess what? It's a plant. It's, you know, it'll grow. There's a million different ways to grow it, and everybody can say theirs is great, but I think diving deep into the actual science of it, and, you know, doing your own experiments and understanding what's happening with the plant is really what's exciting and fun. We also have a ton of new projects that we're always expanding. Sure. We're always building, you know. We have 75 acres of outdoor that we've got. A big, we have 9 greenhouses now, and a massive drying facility out there as well. Pretty cool new dry technology. But the new projects keep it really exciting, and always trying to be, you know, competitive on a commercial scale in the industry is motivating for sure.
Yeah, one experiment that we're really excited about going back to, it's kind of hitting 2 things that you mentioned. With increased light needing increased feeding. With Kevin's facility, I mean, he's downplayed how sophisticated it is. Truly. Of course. I mean, he feeds basically on VPD schedules. So when he's talking about transpiration rates, he's seeing the transpiration rates, or he saw it go from HPS, however many gallons per room, to an increase of transpiration rates, and a direct correlation to increase yields and quality and everything else, because of, you know, transpiration rates, like you said, goes right back to the energy that's going into the plant. But one of the experiments he's running is different feeding schedules, or EC levels of nutrients and feeding, based on increasing light levels. And I know he just started that one, and we're just starting to get some data back from that, and it's super exciting to see, you know, where that sweet spot is, and it's not really where the entire industry thought it was. So it'll be fun to touch on that once we.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm excited about that. Well, first of all, we are so lucky to have our own R&D room. Right. And of course, we outfitted it with the A3Is, but we have just a 12 light room, 4 tables,
more reminder,
3 lights per table. And well, there's just so much control we have. They're digital. I can change the light intensity, you know, to the percentage point, and I can change the spectrum on it. I mean, I can run a lot of different. There's a lot you can do. They're versatile. So we have an R&D room that we're running the tests with nutrients. You know, we do pheno hunting and stuff like that, but we also do a lot of controlled tests. We're running a nutrient test now where we're increasing the EC and the light intensity, right, at different stages, and just trying to find where the maximum and that perfect point is to drive the plant as much as possible. You know, and have it do what it's genetically capable of doing. But it's a lot of fun. We're 3 weeks in right now. We basically ran a control study with our typical EC and then increased it on each table, and then playing with the light intensity as well. So we'll see how they end up. But we're already starting to notice a faster growth rate on plants with a higher EC level and higher light intensity earlier on.
Do you want to talk about those EC levels or not really?
Not yet. I want to finish the study, you know.
Right. I know. Right. I was going to see if you want to talk about it.
Sure. Now, this is the dual-sided question here. I mean, for Bet and Ben on our side, with LED lighting, what are 2 successful factors that you guys like to see from cultivators when they use your products?
Well, one, it depends on what level of grower they have, but for the most part, I mean, we don't do pushy sales tactics. We don't do crazy marketing stunts. What we like to actually do is just say, let the plants do the talking. If they need to, have assistance from our horticultural team or our engineers, we like to get them on site right away. The reason we have so many successful clients, I mean, Kevin doesn't really need some of those services, but some people do. Right. And when you have that to, fly a couple of guys up, maybe train their team, whether it be they want to know, what EC levels to run, environmental controls, crop steering, or we had to bring our engineers out, look at their infrastructure to see if they need, they don't have enough dehumidification, they have too much HVAC. We can look at a lot of stuff and work through stuff with their team to increase their success. Because we're not just letting guys. First and foremost, Fohse is an engineering firm. So definitely take advantage of that when you become a client or, more so a partner with us. But the big thing is just seeing the success. We like to look at what you've done before, look at the metrics, yields, COAs, and let's see what we can do from there. So let's see if we can
provide value.
Yeah, where can we provide value with our lighting system? Is it going to be increased yields, terpene levels, cannabinoids? What are we growing for? What systems are you going in? Are you just trying to reduce your costs? Are we having a wattage restriction we're trying to attack? Let us know what we can do. We'll build custom lights, custom spectrums, whatever you need. I mean, we'll build lights to R&D if you need them, if you want to try something crazy. And we built like at least 3 for this guy.
That goes back to the comment that we say here at Fohse with our success is your success. And I mean, he kind of gave that as an example there with properly assessing what the client needed, where they currently were with their flower, where they currently were with their facility, and how we could improve and make it better, not just for us to benefit, but for the clients also benefit for the long term, for the partnership. That's the long term goal, is to really build something sustainable. What about for you?
No, I mean, the technology's too new to not do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I mean, we're in the phase of the industry where science and experimenting is what we're supposed to be doing, and
there's no right or wrong way until you just do it.
Right, and you're proving it. You're proving it. And so, that's the biggest thing. And what I look for immediately, what every commercial grower wants is a bigger yield, higher quality plant, which means higher terpene levels and better bag appeal and everything like that. It's just it all.
Hey, let's talk about that for a second.
Exactly.
The big. So you're saying you're getting 5.5 a light, 5.5 pounds.
It's the biggest yield we've had to date, but we're regularly hitting over 5 pounds a light.
What does that look like on your testing? What are you doing for a percentage?
Well, we have 6 strains in the 30s, and that's total THC.
So,
that's not
growing
THC.
big plants doesn't mean growing less quality.
No, not at all. I mean, I just fundamentally disagree with that. I know that's a thought process out there, that's a belief out there, but the reality is there's
doesn't make sense.
Well, think about all the crosses of cannabis. Think about how many strains there really are. There's bound to be some that are heavy yielders that look great and that test over 30 or that are really potent. I know we have 6 at our facility right now that test over 30% for total THC, which is, by the way, is an algorithm how they get there from your THCA, which is the actual amount of THC in there, and then our total cannabinoids are often in the 40 percentile, if not the upper 30s, and those 6 genetics are huge yielders. Those are the ones that are regularly in that 5 pound category. So I know that there's smaller yielding strains that have good flower. Of course, but I just don't want to grow them if I don't have to, you know.
So let's break down. Let's park there too. Let's break down that misconception. Why do you think that's such a? Obviously, we know why, because people think that their lights, you know, bigger products, better fly.
I think
but
it
why
goes
do you think
farther
that's
back than that, honestly. I think it goes farther back than, I mean, first, yes, not everybody has the ability to have an incredible mechanical infrastructure and yada, yada, yada. But, and typically most of the genetics today are a blend of so many different breeds that have gotten to the point of where it is and it's mutated and yada, yada, yada. It's usually not a really strong, resilient, tons of land race, you know, in it where it's a big, strong, potent plant, you know, typically. So I think that, because it's been so regular and so common in the past, you got to remember that 10, 15 years ago, everybody's growing in their basement or in a small garage or maybe in a legal warehouse with not that many lights. They're not running crews and crews of people. It's at least not that many people were. And so you have to take all of that into consideration as well. I think if this had been commercialized here for 100 years, oh yeah, they would have maximized this a long time ago. I just look at it like a farmer. Look how farmers look at everything. Anytime a commercial farmer gets his hands on something or is trying to grow a crop, I promise you, and I'm talking to a big commercial farmer, I've visited many of these guys, they will find the absolute cheapest way to produce that product on a commercial scale that it's a margin game, period. And nobody can beat them, no matter what they have to automate, what genetics they use. But that is really, with that in mind and having that as your competition, it'll drive the success and larger yielding genetics that are more potent, higher quality. Yeah, like I said, man, our best genetics, our heaviest yielders, are also our highest testers.
Well, and you also got to remember too, I mean, everyone has had to grow with HPS. The most ppfd you're going to get to your plant is what, 1,000, 1,100 before heat becomes an issue. Low powered LEDs, you're right in that same ballpark. So I mean, since cannabis has been legal, that's kind of what you're dealing with, is 800 to 1,200 maybe, unless you're slamming lights down. So there's not really been technology built for a crop like this in a commercial setting where we can be like, hey, if you want 1,200 for that plant and you want 2,000 for that plant, we got you covered. There's not really been a system that's been able to do that. So I mean, that's why I think it's new, and you have to have guys like Kevin who are willing to go and, you know, push the limits and kind of see what these genetics actually want to do. And, you know, we're finding out we barely touched the surface of where we can take it for sure.
And also hold out for the good ones. You know, if you find a good one that's not a low yielder, you don't have to just accept it. You know, a lot of people, but they take time to grow. This all takes a lot of time and effort, energy, and money, and those things drive your decisions also. You know, so a lot of factors, man. But that's where my head has been at since I've been in the commercial cannabis industry. You know, it's over a decade now, looking at all the genetics I've had and realizing the diversity of genetics and what's capable, you know, what they're capable of. So I hold out for the good ones.
One thing that I've noticed that's really in common, that both of you two have in common between both parties, is patience and being able to kind of take your time, build something. If it doesn't work, go back to the drawing board. You know, in a couple conversations we had earlier this week, you know, when they were developing the lights, they went back to the workshop like, all right, we're going back to test something new. And like you said, is taking the time to test, get the data, study it, make the changes that need to be made, and then, you know, get the results that you want.
Yeah, and that's a luxury though. It really is, because most places and most of the companies I've been a part of, you know, especially before this, was we got to make money because it's all privately funded. Banks aren't involved. I mean, that has a big part of your decision making. You know, it plays a big role.
So speaking of that decision making, really quick, what makes you choose quality over the ones that don't make that right decision that you just referenced?
Well, as far as genetics go,
yeah, genetics.
Well,
as far as
you know,
genetics.
they have to play. They're really just three things for me. Some people put it in 4 categories. I like to play 3. Number 1, it has to be a good test result, and whether that's at an outrageous terpene profile, a really cool minor cannabinoid blend, or it's really high THC. It's just got to have a good test result. Number 2 is it's got to have a good nose, flavor, smoke. You know, that section of the plant, the actual consumption, has to be on point, whether it's a unique terpene profile, whether it's a unique flavor, makes your mouth water, it looks outrageous, you know, something like that. And then the last one, which to me is one of the most important things, is yield. And making sure it's in that yield category where I can... there's a lot of back-end stuff that goes into genetic decision-making as well, especially on a commercial scale, because you have to think down the line, we're going to dry this plant. how well does this plant dry? What's the stalk thickness? What's the moisture content? How long is that enzymatic process going to take? Is there, is this chlorophyll going to leave easily? Is it going to take longer? What's my process? And then on the trim side, I also have labor on the trim side. I got to remember that I'm paying for that. How much is that bud easy to trim? Is it an easy, round, dense nug with hardly any leaves? By the time it gets to them, it's almost trimmed already? Or is it something where there's a ton of calyxes and they got to hedge it? Those play a major role in the decision as well. But on just the cultivation style, it's the look and smell, flavor, it's the test result and the yield. And if it hits all those three things, then it's going on the lineup for sure.
How often do you sacrifice the strength of the flower over the flavor profile or the genetic makeup of it? Because sometimes that's a huge gamble that I notice with a lot of brands is if it's strong and it's good, they don't really care about the flavor profile, how it feels,
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for how unique a flavor profile can be or an aroma and terpenes profiles, just because there's so much variation in cannabis. It's crazy, Some smell like garlic, some smell like cherries, some smell like dog shit. You just never know what you're going to get. Exactly. Exactly. So it's crazy diverse. So I think that's continually interesting, and I know that people enjoy that as well. And you got to remember that not everybody's trying to get face plant blitzed.
Right, exactly.
Some people are just trying to relax and have a mellow high. They don't need to have crazy high THC. It can just be a really nice flavor and aroma and a good. But I think cannabis is for everybody to consume. And I truly believe that. And I think that there's some way to consume for everybody where it's going to benefit you in a health sense, and especially long term. So I think that there's something for everybody. But like I said, back to, as a commercial grower, I'm trying to find the ones that are going to make more, that are going to be fantastic strains, but that are going to be profitable for the company. And those are typically higher THC strains that are higher yielding.
So obviously, without giving up too much, Bet and Bren, for the future, what do you see, or how do you see Fohse impacting cultivators and business partners like Kevin with the products that we continue to innovate and offer in the future? Like, how do you see that shifting that relationship?
Yeah, I think it's just constantly built around where we can provide value and where we can provide support and what problems we can help them solve. Like everything you see from the features and functionalities on our controller or the A3i switching spectrums, it's all come from us doing experiments or having Kevin go, why don't you have this on there? And we go, that's a great idea. Let's build it. So we just keep asking what we can provide, and whether it be horticulture team or plant physiologists, new, just cool new toys for people to play with. That's what we're here to do. So the more they tell us, the more you guys give us suggestions, the more we'll build.
The benefit, again, the more you guys give them suggestions, the more they will build. There's an opportunity here with being able to build your own products, test them, and change them if you don't like it. If someone says, hey, this didn't work, all right, going back to the drawing board. Kevin, what about for you? What do you see for the future with a brand like Fohse, with how you'll continue to benefit from these products?
Well, I mean, let's see. To be honest, I mean, the A3i, right now, I would, even if they came out with something newer, I'd probably just stick with that for the moment. Just because you got to remember, cannabis plant is not a perennial. It's an annual plant. It's got one shot, and it's grown outside. That's its nature. And the sun can throw off 2,000 ppfd on a regular basis. And not doing that, not giving the plant the ability to have that max light energy, is you're selling it short, Yeah,
that light, that's not going anywhere.
Right, right.
We've spent 7 years developing it.
Yeah, good. But to me, I believe that maybe in the earlier stages of the plant's life, there's a lot of new technology coming out, and looking at both the cloning or propagation lights, and what the best light is to use in veg and color spectrums. There's a constant debate, especially amongst growers. But running tests and being innovative, that's one of the things I like about these guys is, if I don't like something, they'll provide me with people that are legitimate, third-party people that we can talk to that can provide factual scientific information. And then B, they can customize and build whatever I want. Most of the lights I have in my veg right now is something that I asked them to build for me, and we love it. So that's nice having that variability and seeing what the future comes technology wise. But I don't know how the grow light's going to get better.
Yeah, and what he's talking about in that third party, that's when we brought Lightcore in for 2.5 days to his facility, flew them out there. And we were literally trying to figure out the veg spectrum. What is the best spectrum for veg and intensity? And we did photomorphogenic responses on I don't know how many different genetics and different stages of plant life, and came in with a book like this big on all of his genetics. And we went through it. We brought a couple more test fixtures out, and we actually ended up making a couple tweaks. And next thing you know, our veg spectrum was probably designed by Kuethe 5 years ago. Yeah, pretty wild.
This is great. I think one of the biggest things that I would tell you guys to take away from this episode is it's two pieces here. Be patient when you have a product or when you have something. Take your time, really study the industry, get the data that you need. As Kevin said, he took the time to really get the information that he needed from his I'm drawing a blank here, but he got the information that he needed from his facility and his plants to end up getting the proper yields that he wanted and to get the product and the flower that he wanted. But again, it takes time, it takes patience. And again, with Fohse, another thing that's in the silver lining is patience. We didn't come up with this light overnight. It's not just one light. There are many lights that fit the need of whatever you may need. So, as you look forward for many more episodes, there'll be more education, more information. Look for more clips from this episode. But in the meantime, make sure you tune in next week for Welcome to the Future. There will be more coming from us. Kevin, thank you for sticking in with us and hopping in.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Look forward to many more. Thank you.